Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Those Twins Who Knit. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is just our podcast where we talk about mostly knitting projects, occasionally other crafts, but in this case, it's going to be 100% knitting projects.
And it's been over a month now, which was not our intention, but life got busy for both of us. And then we actually sat down to record last weekend, and our settings were just really off. And we were like, this is just not what we want to put out there. And so it's been a while. We have a lot to talk about. Hopefully this won't be too long. But yeah, we've been doing a lot of knitting and need to catch up. So here we are.
Yeah, thanks for joining. We'll start with what we're wearing. And I believe both of these are finished objects for us, or at least this one is for me.
Yeah, me too.
This is the mini mock neck tank by Jessie Maed Designs. And I used Lamana Como sport weight yarn. The pattern actually recommends a fingering weight, but before I ordered the yarn, I swatched with a fingering weight, and it was just going to be a little more see-through than what I was hoping for. So I went up and got a sport weight, and it worked out nice because I ordered some other yarn for a project that we'll talk about here in a little bit. And I needed to get just like a little bit more in order to hit that free shipping mark. So this was my free shipping project and probably my last tank top for 2023.
Yeah, I will always add more to my cart before I'll pay for shipping if that's an option. I'm like, more yarn. And I am wearing my twist loop top. I said in the last two episodes tank, I think, so I was calling it the twist loop tank. And I noticed when I was doing my Ravelry stuff that I was calling it the wrong name. So this is the twist loop top that I knit in Coast to Coast sock yarn, their colorway Leek from their soup collection, which was like my favorite color this summer. I was so obsessed with it. So I was really happy to get this done. I actually finished this like a week after our last podcast, and then I have been wearing it, but since it's been a while, it feels like it's been a long time since I finished this, and it's funny that it's like a finished object in this episode. But yeah, I really, really love it. I love the fit of it. I like the I-cord edging that it has, so I'm just really happy with how this one turned out. And even though it's sock yarn, I feel like it's still fine, especially right now as we're like transitioning into fall. I can put a cardigan over it, and yeah, I really, really like how this one turned out. So that's what we're wearing. Do you want to start with other finished objects? I've got two more.
Yeah, I've got two more.
Okay, so we both have three finished objects. I've got 3 whips too.
Perfect.
I've been doing a lot.
Well, yeah, I'll start with one of mine. This is the Tsov hat by Caitlin Hunter, or Boylan Knitworks, as she goes by on like Instagram and things like that. I believe in the last one I had just done the cuff because it's got quite a long cuff that folds over. And I did the smaller size. So there's 2 sizes. They're pretty much the same. The only difference is one is like longer than the other, and I did the smaller one. But I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. As you all know, the grow hat that I was working on earlier was way too small, and this one actually fits me, so pretty excited to have this for winter. And this is the Woolstok worsted weight yarn by Blue Sky Fibers. It comes in like 50 or 150 gram skeins, and I had 150 grams left over from another project that I just used this for, but I still have a lot left, so I probably could make 2 of these guys out of what I have.
Make me one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it turned out pretty cute.
Yeah, the cables are beautiful on that.
Yeah, here, I'll see if I can hold them up if they'll focus. It's just a fun little project.
Yeah, it turned out great.
Yeah.
I'll start with my small finished object 2, which is a pair of socks. I gotta see if it'll focus. It's just a really simple 3x1 rib. So I was pretty inspired by yours. What pattern did you use for this?
Totally Rad ribbed socks by Summerlee.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yours had stockinette right here for the stripes and then went into the ribbing. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so I just did the ribbing all the way. I actually didn't use a pattern or like buy one to reference it, I really just took my measurements for a vanilla sock, and instead of doing all stockinette, I did 3x1 ribbing, and then I added the little 3 stripes because I thought that was such a cute detail on yours. And yours was inspired by the Coast to Coast Erin's version too.
Yep.
So this is, like I said, just a vanilla sock that is made with Coast to Coast, potato, and leek. So it kind of goes together. From her soup collection, which we were obsessed with this summer. It was such a good collection. So just a really quick one. After I finished this, I was still feeling this color, and I really wanted to use this set. I had started the Daily Socks by Summerlee with this yarn, and I just didn't know if it was right for it, but I really wanted to knit this yarn up, so we just did our own thing. But really, really happy with how they turned out. So
yeah. And speaking of that yarn, I'm actually going to skip my next finished object and go into a whip because I'm making a sock out of the same yarn.
You know, I have quite a bit of this left too, so we can make a little set of it.
Yeah. This one is the Season Socks by Summerlee Design Co. And I'm kind of stretching it out like this one because it's not blocked and it's super wonky. I've only knit the one and I haven't even started the second sock, so that's definitely on my to-do list right now. But the way the stitch pattern, here I'll see if I can hold it up if it'll focus at all.
Hide behind it.
Yeah. It's such a fun pattern. Like, I really enjoyed knitting it. I really love it. But the way the like textured pattern is, it's like stretching or like shrinking the yarn. And so here in the foot portion, you can see that like the stockinette on the foot is like so much stretchier, and then this part is really, really tight right here, and it's just like cinching it up. It's like, yeah, it looks super wonky. So I typically don't use sock blockers to block my socks, but I may have to get some just for this sock because I want to be sure that this portion matches the like foot part. So I don't know. It's a little wonky. TBD if I like them, but it's fun to knit, and I've already finished the first one, so I feel like I'm committed to where like I'm gonna make the second.
I feel like I've seen a lot of people cast this pattern on recently. I wonder if anybody else has.
Let me know if anyone else is having that issue too, where just like the foot was super wonky. I'm sure that this part was like shrunken up too as well. Sorry, I'm holding it upside down. But like because it's all the same texture, you don't notice. But then it's just really obvious on the bottom part where the foot like it almost makes like a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not like how I expect socks to look.
Funny.
But I have high hopes that blocking is going to do wonders for it. I may have to invest in some sock blockers.
Have you tried it on? Like, does it seem okay when it's on your foot?
Yeah. It seems fine when I'm wearing it, because then the curve of my foot, like, it naturally stretches over that.
Blocking can do a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
I believe in blocking.
Yeah. We're gonna hope that works. I'll let you know.
Okay, my last finished object then was a test knit. So this was the LOUISA tee. I hope I'm saying that right. I think I am. By her name is Rachel, and I don't know if she has her last name out there, but her Instagram handle is It's So Rachel, or on Ravelry she goes by, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it, Stitching Simply. So this is her design. And she actually asked me to test knit. We had already been talking online a little bit through Instagram, because she has family close to where we are. And so we had kind of just been like chatting and having conversations about knitting and stuff like that. And so when she was about to release the test call for this, she had reached out and asked if either of us were interested. So I was like, yes, of course. And I should have worn it today, but it's just still a little bit warm here. The hint of fall is here, but not quite yet.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty simple, basic raglan that has a moss stitch all over, which is a really fun texture for it. And I knit it in Woolfolk Far in the colorway 30. And she called for DK, but I could not for the life of me get gauge with a DK. It was 18 stitches for 4 inches. And so I had to go up to a worsted, which is ironic because I'm going to talk about another test knit that I'm doing that I'm going to have the same issue with. So it's reoccurring now. But I went up to a worsted, and so I picked Woolfolk Far because it's a very light yarn. It is a wool, so it is a wool t-shirt. But when you pick up a skein of it, it's like a chainette yarn kind of. And so it really does not feel as heavy as you would expect for a worsted weight. So I thought for a t-shirt, having this very light fabric would be a little bit better than like a thicker wool t-shirt at a worsted weight gauge. So I was really excited. I think that the pattern is coming out this weekend. So if you follow her on Instagram or anything like that, you can watch for it. And I feel like test knitting, I go in waves. There are times that I don't do a lot of test knitting and times that I do. And I just recently signed up for another test knit, so there we go. Yeah. So that's my last finished object. We'll get into whips.
Yeah. Well, I'll go through my last finished object.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you had another one. No, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I'll try to hold it up so you can see the texture, if it'll focus. This is my Melange. Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm knitting.
No, you're fine.
I almost snagged you.
Yeah. This is my Melange sweater by Petiteknit. So it's just a marled, really basic drop shoulder. It's kind of like it feels like a sweatshirt type sweater. I used Henry's Attic Prime Alpaca with like a beige held together with a dark brown. Mostly because I already had the beige in my stash and I wanted to get it out. So that was a good way of using it. But I will say I ran into a major problem with this pattern that I was not anticipating. And that's that because it's a drop shoulder, you knit the back yoke and then the front yoke flat and then join in the round to continue knitting. And I think that's about where I was when we last talked to y'all. But then about like 3 or 4 inches into knitting the body flat, I realized that the way I was holding my yarn when I was knitting flat was really different than the way it was looking up when I was knitting in the round. And so I don't normally have issues with like rowing out or anything like that. Like usually my tension's pretty even between knitting and purling, but there must be something with the way I was holding my yarn when I was purling that was different because I was getting stripes and pooling and all sorts of funky stuff. So I ended up ripping it out and I knit this whole thing flat and then seamed it together. So what I ended up doing was I just took it back to before I connected in the round, and then I cast on a few extra stitches on either side for my selvage stitch, and then I knit the front and the back to be the same length, and then I picked up stitches along the sleeves, but I didn't connect them in the round, and I knit those flat and then seamed those. So I did not have a great time with this sweater. I don't love seaming, especially for a sweater where I was like, I should be able to knit this in the round. Like I shouldn't have to seam it, but because I just ran into so many issues with pooling and striping, and I knew it was going to bother me if the fabric wasn't consistent all the way through. So that's what we did. So
do you have those notes on Ravelry?
I don't. I have not added this to Ravelry yet, just because I don't have any pictures of it yet. But one day
I need to update Ravelry.
Yeah.
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 It's beautiful though. You should add those because I would like to knit that eventually. I don't know if I would have the same problem or not, but
if anyone else wants to knit this sweater, I would highly recommend doing 2 swatches. I only did 1 swatch when I knit flat, and I was like, oh, that'll be good. That's fine. But I really wish I had knit 2 swatches, 1 flat and 1 in the round. Because I probably wouldn't have made the sweater had I done that, to be honest.
You were committed.
That, or I'm sure there's ways, like the pattern even does say to be sure to like constantly twist your yarn, so that way it's like you don't have like one color that's overlapping too much over the others. And I thought I was doing that, but I was not. So maybe if you practice that enough,
or
it would work.
Just buy yarn that's already marled.
Yeah, do that. But like
I know Pearl Soho has
Pearl
like a
Soho has
worsted twist,
one.
or they used to at least. I guess I haven't looked in a while.
Woolfolk has one that's like snow. That would probably work. It's already marled, and then you don't have
That's
to
a
like...
fingering weight, though. Is this a DK?
It's 2 fingerings held together. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's my advice. Do 2 swatches. Or buy marled yarn.
Yes.
Don't do what I did.
I like the idea of marled yarn.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that.
Yeah. But that's my last finished object for today.
All right. Should we start with what we're working on then?
Sure.
So I showed this last time, so I'll start with the one that everyone's already seen, which is my cardigan number 8. She's kind of big. Let me get her all together here. This is cardigan number 8 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I am knitting it with Cascade Eco Merino Plus in the color Bison, which I think is just the color that's discontinued and not the actual yarn.
That's my understanding.
Hopefully we're right about that. We're not giving you wrong information. But I haven't made a lot of progress. I cast on a sleeve, but I've kind of had her on hold for a little bit for a couple of reasons. Last time I showed this, I talked about how when you first start this, you're knitting back and forth from the back, like you're starting on the back piece, knitting back and forth, but you're increasing every row as opposed to every other row. So you're only increasing in this part, but because it's every row, it was puckering really bad for me because I think I was just knitting it too tight. And so along this seam, it was like, yeah, it was puckering really bad, and I was just getting really nervous about it. I was like, what if I knit this whole thing and then it doesn't fix itself and I don't like it, and then I waste all that time and yarn, and I don't know, I just was not feeling good about it. And so I decided to go ahead and block it as just the body. Like I cast off the ribbing, or bound off the ribbing, and so I decided to block the body, and it did block out so well. I was so happy with it. It's still maybe not like exactly perfect, but it's definitely at a place where I am comfortable with it, and so I was really glad I did it, but it did take forever to block. So it kind of put it on hold for quite a while. And then while it was blocking, I cast it on other things, and now I'm excited about those things. And then I applied to a test knit that I have to get started on soon. And so I am really liking this project, but I'm not putting any pressure on myself to finish it. It's kind of going to be a like in between things, or just whenever I feel motivated to work on it. And you've seen it last time before. It's just a little bit farther. We're working on the sleeves, and I'm working on them with magic loop because I didn't really want to go buy other needles for it. So that's where that one is. That's my first whip, but will probably still be a whip next time. If not, I'll be surprised with myself, but hey, maybe. So that's my first one. Well, I'll talk about, I've got 2 sweaters, so I'll talk about the first one. Well, actually, one's a sweater, one's a cardigan. So this is my sweater. It's so beautiful.
So this is the porcelain sweater. Yeah, it's by Lene, or Lene. I'm not sure how she says it, but on Instagram, that's her name. And I'm using Tynn Peer Gynt and then Tynn Silk Mohair, both by Sandnes Garn. And the like cream color is almond and something else. I'll put it in the comments. And then the brown is hazelnut. So I finished one whole sleeve, and then yeah, the body, and then I'm on the second sleeve right now.
I feel like you've knit that really fast.
I don't know. To me, it feels like it's going slow, but part of it is that I'm kind of scared I'm going to run out of yarn because of the brown yarn. This is how much I have left, and I still have the whole sleeve to go. So we're playing some yarn chicken. I did go ahead and just place an order for one more skein of the brown because I figure if I'm prepared and I have it, I'm not going to need it. But if I don't have it, then for sure I'll need it.
That is the way it will work.
That's the way it works. So we'll see. But I'm really enjoying it. I will say one of the challenges with this sweater that I ran into is that the back panel you have to knit flat, which just isn't something that I do very often, so it's not...
Like, do you mean the color work knitting flat?
Yeah, knit the color work flat, yeah.
I've never knit color work flat, to be honest.
Yeah, so you have to do color work on, like, the knit side and the purl side. Yeah, so that was a challenge to get your tension right, but thankfully I swatched first, and that gave me some practice, and then you do the back panel before you do the front, and I was like, okay, if I have any mistakes, I'd
rather be on the back.
Yeah, I'd rather be on the back. So this is the back. I think it's pretty good. I'm not unhappy with it or anything. And something to consider too that it is what it is, but when you were knitting flat, there were times where for me, my contrast color yarn, the brown yarn, would be on the wrong side of the end of your knitting that you needed it to be, so I needed to like cut my yarn in order to get it back to the right side, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so on the inside there's a lot of ends to weave in just because of that, so that was a little annoying. I hate cutting my yarn when I don't have to, but it is what it is. And thankfully you don't have that problem in the rest of the body or the sleeves. You can just keep going, because then it's all like at the same end every time you're in the round, but when you're knitting flat, it's just something to consider.
I really loved how that's
I'm really happy with it so far. I think it's gonna be really cute. The other thing that was kind of annoying, not with the pattern, although I do have a little qualm with the pattern in that I'm pretty sure there's a mistake in the neckband, because I had to redo it. The neckband gives instructions for like, it says like pick up approximately X number of stitches, and then it tells you to pick up so many stitches along the like back of the neck, and then down the front, along the front, and then like side of the front. Those numbers don't add up to the same thing. So go with the like approximately like the total number, because that number for me was like 8 stitches higher. And when I went by the recommended amount for like the front and the sides and everything, it was really bunching. Like it didn't look like it was going to be big enough, and I was getting puckering along the side here. So I ended up having to redo it, and I used the higher stitch count. So that was just a little something to consider. And also the sleeves, I think there's a mistake in the sleeve chart, at least for my size. I'm making the smallest size. In that the sleeve count is always going to be an odd number of stitches, but the chart that she provides is these are an even number of stitches, but the chart is an odd number of stitches. It doesn't really make a difference when you're knitting. It's just something to consider. For me, I think there was like an extra stitch, and so I just continued in pattern for one extra stitch.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Not a big deal, just something that I was like, that's kind of odd.
Oh, it's so beautiful, though.
Yeah. Also, sorry, I have so many little minor things about this sweater that, like, none of them are, like, deal breakers for me. I'm still super happy with this sweater, and I still love it, and I'm gonna wear it a ton. The company that I ordered the yarn from sent me 2 different dye lots of this white color. So for the body, I've been alternating them. For the sleeve, I alternated a little bit in like this section right here, just because I wanted to use up the yarn. But I also was kind of tired of dealing with it. And then this one, so far, I have not been alternating skeins, but I'm probably going to have to at some point in order to like mix the next skein of yarn, because I'm probably I don't think the skein I'm working on is gonna have enough to get me to the entire end of the sleeve, so I'll have to marl those.
I don't think you can tell that they're
not marl, but like alternate. Yeah,
the mohair might kind of blend them together a little bit.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot, but yeah, just something where I was like, oh gosh darn, I wish I didn't have to do that, but
yeah,
but here we are. So
well, I'll be kind of brief on this one, because number one, it's another one that I am not going to put pressure on myself to finish anytime in the like super near future. But you've also already seen it because Jessica's made it, and I wore it in the last podcast as your finished object, like you finished it, and I was like, I'm gonna wear it. And so while there was a time, I didn't present these in order. There was a time where I had finished the test knit t-shirt, and my cardigan number 8 was blocking. I had finished all my other whips, and so there was a time where I was like, I have nothing on my needles that I can work on right now. And so I cast on the Margaux top by Gregoria Fibers. And then I later decided I needed the correct size 7 needles for my other project that I'm currently working on. So now she's on really bunchy needles. But I am using my Illimani Sabri 2. I hope I'm saying that right. Here's the label, so that hopefully that helps people, because my pronunciation is probably not right. But it is 85% organic cotton and 15% baby alpaca. And this is the yarn that I got when we were in San Diego back at the beginning of August. And so I was kind of excited to get to use that yarn and cast it on. And I worked on this while the cardigan number 8 was blocking. And I worked on this really up until last weekend. The KC yarn crawl happened and we went and got new yarn. And then I couldn't help myself and I cast something else on. But in the meantime, this was something I was working on, and we'll definitely try to finish probably by the end of the year. But it's another one that if it doesn't happen by next podcast or anything like that, like in the next month, that's okay. Also, it's one that I can't wait to see blocked, because right now, even though it's on tiny needles, it's also just a little bit, not quite laying the way that she should, but she'll get there.
She'll get there.
Yes. So that's another whip. But like I said, you guys have seen this before, so I won't go on and on about it. And you've got other whips too.
I've got one more whip, and then I'm good. Yeah, you were saying that, like, go through waves with test knits. I've been kind of avoiding test knits for a little bit, just because I think I got burnt out and life is busy, so I don't want to, like, hold myself to too strict of knitting deadlines. But this one test knit I just saw and was like, I have to have that, so I immediately signed up. And that is the Billy cardigan for Sari Nordland.
The texture on that is so good.
Yes. It's so much cabling. Right now it looks really small because the cables are all, like, bunched up. But I'm pretty confident it's going to grow a lot when blocking. My swatch did, so I'm feeling good about it. But yeah, it's just a really, really textured knit with all over cables. And then in the areas that don't have cables, there's still this, like, seed stitch pattern. So yeah, I'm really excited about it so far. It's always good to test knit for a designer like that, because there really haven't been a lot of mistakes so far. Like, not even, mistakes is kind of a harsh word, but, like, there haven't really been a lot of things that I would suggest or recommend. In fact, I've only run into, like, one so far, just because, like, she knows what she's doing. She's been doing this for a long time, so, and it seems like she's got a good tech editor and everything like that. So I've really been enjoying this process. The only challenge that I have run into, and I'm kind of curious to hear from others, there's not, like, a group chat going on where I can, like, talk with other testers. We're all just entering things, like, in the Google Doc, which is kind of nice, you know. It's quiet. It doesn't feel like I'm, like, constantly getting, like, tons of messages or anything, but also I'm just kind of curious. I don't know if anyone else is running into this issue, but the pattern gave 2 different gauges, one for the seed stitch and one for the cables. And when my seed stitch is perfect, my cables are just, like, a tiny bit too small, and then vice versa. When I get the cables perfect, my seed stitch was just pretty dramatically different. And so because it was closer with the smaller needles, and because I had better stitch definition with the smaller needles, that's what I went with. So we'll see if I end up regretting that choice, but I don't think I will so far. I'm feeling pretty good about it at this point.
I feel like once you block it, it'll be...
Yeah. I think it looks a little small, but I think it's going to grow a lot when blocking, so I'm really not worried about it. I think it's going to be cute.
Sari Nordland just announced her book release, or, like, the pre-sale for her book. We have not ordered it yet because the shipping is very expensive to the U.S., and we're kind of hoping that maybe a yarn store near us will carry it, or a yarn store in the U.S. at least, where we could get cheaper shipping. Yeah. But it looks so good. I'm so excited for it. So hopefully we will be able to get our hands on it in the
Hopefully.
nearest future. Yeah.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention my yarn too. This is also Woolstok worsted by Blue Sky Fibers. Right, that's all I had.
Yeah, you're good. I've got one more work in progress, and it is the one that has had all my attention this week. It's what I've been working on, and that is the, oh, let me tuck in the thread so that she looks good. The stripe hype sweater. She's so pretty. And I wanted to make sure I say the name right. The designer's name is Veronika Lindberg. I feel like I've seen a lot of people casting this on. I've seen a lot of people that whose style I like really enjoy. So I was looking through Stash, and I had 4 of the, here, where do I want to put this? 4 of the colors that I'm using. It takes 6 if you want to do the version that she makes. So I had in Stash Knitting for Olive Camel. I wonder if it'll focus. Knitting for Olive Camel color, Knitting for Olive Navy, and Knitting for Olive Raccoon. We'll see if it's focusing, hopefully. And then, not yet on there, but will go on the sleeves, was Knitting for Olive Dark Cognac. Oh, we'll see. And then we went to the Casey Yarn Crawl, and I got 2 more colors. So I was really happy that of the 6 colors it takes, that 4 of them are from my stash. But I did buy from Unwind and Lee Summit. I already took the band off of this so I could get the collar done, but I think this is Baby Blue Eyes or something like that from Sandnes Garn Sunday, and then their almond color, and so which I'm using for the main body. I'm holding all of these double, but it's just going super fast, and I'm happy that I'm using a lot of stash yarn, and yeah, I'm just really loving this pattern. It does call for, and I only casted this on like a week ago too, so I'm hoping to get the body cast off this weekend and start on the sleeves. But the pattern does have like, not waist shaping, but like decreases as you get towards the body, and I have not done that. Hopefully that is a choice that I'm happy with at the end. But that's really the only modification I've made so far. Everything else I've followed to plan. And you were saying with your porcelain sweater, there's a lot of ends to weave in. This is not the favorite part if you don't like weaving in ends, because, oh my gosh.
I would just carry them down the side if it were me, but
I don't know where I got this in my head, but I got it in my head that if it's more than like 2, maybe 3 rows, that you should cut the yarn every time, and that will create a cleaner fabric. Would you have carried
maybe
the ends on this? Did
yeah, let us know.
Did I do this to myself? Because I am cutting it every time.
I would
and
probably
weaving
just
in
like
the
loop
ends.
it in every 2 rows or so.
I did not do that.
I don't know. That's
so I'm gonna weave in.
yeah, let me know if I'm wrong for thinking that that's how I would do it, because I do kind of want to make that same sweater.
I thought for some reason it would like create like a drag in the fabric or something. I don't know.
Well, if it's on the selvage and then you pick up along the side on like one of the inner stitches for the sleeves, I would think it would hide it, but
I might have done this to myself.
Let me know if I'm wrong, because I do want to make that sweater, and like that is my plan, because I don't want to weave in that many ends.
Yeah, it's a lot of ends to weave in. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm going to put this one at the top of the sleeves for the stripes, and then this is going to be the cuff color, which I think will be really cute. So very autumnal colors, but yeah. Also, I would say, I was thinking about this as I was knitting it, I would probably recommend this as like a first sweater if you haven't done garment knitting yet, because it really uses very basic techniques. It's just that it's so addicting because you're changing colors every 8 rows. And so it's not very long before you're like, oh, I'm to a next color, and then you want to keep knitting to get to the next color. And I think that's what makes it go so fast. But in terms of techniques, it is a very simple garment.
It doesn't even have short rows, does it?
No, this is like, you basically start by knitting a rectangle on the back, and then the collar shaping comes completely from the front. I did also make the decision to cast on or pick up a few more stitches in the collar than she recommended. And I'm glad I did, because I think if I hadn't, it might have gotten bunchy. I'm knitting the second size from the, how do I say that? Like not the smallest size, but the next smallest size, because I wanted it to be a little bit oversized. I typically go for the size 1 or the extra small, but I wanted this to be a little bit bigger. And so I picked up some more stitches from what she recommended. And she recommends a US size 6 for the body and a US 2.5 for the neck. And I did a US size 7, and then I did not want to go down that much in needle size because I was already worried about the bunching, and so I used a US size 5. I also noticed that when people get to the ribbing down here, maybe it's because she also recommends decreasing at the body, but I feel like it looks very tight at the hem, and I kind of like more of a straight sweater, so I'll probably use a 5 or a 6 for the ribbing down here, or maybe even just stay with a size 7, because the twisted rib I feel like will cinch it in anyway.
Yeah.
So I might make some slight modifications with the needle size, but other than that, I've really stayed pretty true to this pattern, and it's so much fun. I'm hoping to have it finished really soon because I just want to wear it so bad. So that's my last work in progress, but we've also been buying yarn too.
Well, I only have one acquisition.
Oh, I've got more than that.
But I'll share it. Yeah. Okay, let me pull it out of the bag real quick. So I bought some cream, merino, and soft silk mohair from Knitting for Olive. The camera doesn't want to focus. And then I also bought some bottle green. Oh, that did a little better for a second. So I have quite a bit of the cream, and then I just have these 2 skeins of the green. And then back home in my stash that I've had forever, I've got some red merino and mohair from Knit Picks. But I'm going to use all of them together and make a Christmas sweater. So I'm going to do the Knitting for Olive Christmas sweater that has like the holly around the yoke. So I'm super excited about it. It looks pretty simple, just that one little section of stranded knitting. But I feel like it's never too early to start a Christmas sweater. And last year, I feel like I went to several Christmas parties and I had to wear a store-bought sweater to all of them, which was totally fine. But why, if you could knit your own sweater,
Why wouldn't you?
why wouldn't you? So that's my plan. Is I'm like, I want to be prepared for Christmas sweaters this year, like Christmas parties. So I haven't cast it on yet. I definitely want to finish my test knit before I cast on anything else. That's going to be the highest priority. And then I'm pretty close to finishing my porcelain sweater with just that one sleeve. So after I finish those 2 up, this will be next on my needles.
I actually bought yarn for a Christmas sweater too. So I bought, it's Sagan hand-dyed yarn, if it will. And it's in this really beautiful, it looks more red in real life. I feel like the camera is really picking up the brownish tones, but I wanted something that was like a brownish red. I didn't want like a very bold, bright.
Not like fire truck red?
Yes, yeah. I know that's really popular right now though. I think with the High Fiber Knits tomato soup knit along. I love everybody.
That poppy red.
Yes.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. I just don't know if I see it in my wardrobe, but
maybe not for Christmas sweater.
Yeah, no. And so I wanted the red, but I didn't want like a red. It really does look more red in real life, I promise. So I bought this to make the Skeindier's, I think it's called the Festive Yoke pullover, and it's got 2 versions. It's got one where you have like details just along the yoke, and then it's got one where you do color work all over the entire thing. And I'm seeing myself as just doing probably the yoke, but whenever you cast on your Christmas sweater, let me know, because I still need to buy a contrast color for this. They were out of the natural color that I would have got with it, but we can cast on our Christmas sweaters together. So that was one of my acquisitions. A couple of the yarns in my stripe pipe were acquisitions, 2 of the colors. But then I also got, while we were at Unwind, we got, I actually had this already, but I got a mohair to match. So I have the Fiberco Cumbria fingering version. I think there's a worsted version of this or a DK. There's a thicker version of Cumbria, and then they also have a fingering version, I'm pretty sure. And so I already had this, and I got a mohair to match. And this is the Sandnes Garn Tynn Silk Mohair in the color light beige. We had been saying for a long time whenever we'd gone into Unwind that we wanted them to carry the Tynn Silk Mohair, and so
They finally did.
I know, and it was so sweet because during the Casey yarn crawl, we of course went to Unwind, and right away Tammy, the owner, was like, "We have Tynn Silk Mohair." We were like, "Yay!" So we were so excited, and of course we got some, but we'll probably be back for more in the near future. So that was my other acquisition that I got while we were at Unwind. We actually didn't make it to other places at the Casey yarn crawl. We kind of had intentions, and then we just went to Unwind, and we were kind of tired, and we didn't make it.
Yeah.
And
The problem with Casey's is so spread out that each of them are all at least 20 minutes, if not more, away from each other. And so we had already had a busy day. And it's just kind of hard when you know you're going to have to travel at least 20 minutes there and then 20 minutes back somewhere, if not more. Because some of them were even further.
Yeah,
some
like,
of them were like 40 minutes.
like Yarn Barn and Lawrence. We love Yarn Barn and Lawrence, but it's like...
It's like an hour from here.
Yeah, we kind of make a full day trip of it because it is kind of a drive, and so we just decide to like hang out in Lawrence, and we wouldn't have been able to do that last weekend. And then our husbands really wanted to watch the Chiefs game on Sunday, so yeah, we didn't make it anywhere else, but we really love all of our local yarn stores. So Yarn Social is also a really, really great one.
Aren't you pairing that with some knitting?
Oh, yeah. I lost track. I got distracted talking about the Casey yarn crawl. So the reason I got this to pair with this, and I also have Knitting for Olive, Merino, and not their soft silk. Yes, it is soft silk mohair. The Tynn Silk and the soft silk mohair was getting mixed up in my brain there. I'm going to make a Nord pullover out of these, and I'm super, super excited about that design. So you've probably seen it on Instagram. It's, I think, a really popular design, but this is going to be the body for it. And then it's got these stripes that kind of look, they're just really simple stripes at first, but then if you look, they've got like little color work checkered stripes to them. I really, really love that.
It's like a little 1x1 straight in knitting checker.
I actually had the thought that if it goes well, I might try to make matching socks for it. Probably with a different yarn. I don't know if I want mohair socks, but wouldn't that be so cute?
That'd be cute.
So that was, yes, the reason that I got this is so that I can make a Nord pullover. And then I also got, while I ordered from Knitting for Olive, I got marzipan, which is actually originally going to be paired with this, and then I liked this pairing better. So we did a Knitting for Olive order. We order directly from Knitting for Olive and ship it, which the shipping is fairly expensive, but when we order, we usually try to both order.
Yeah.
So you got your Christmas sweater yarn,
and
I got some just the black, and then some mohair for what I thought was going to be part of the Nord pullover. And then I decided that I didn't really like it so much for the Nord, but I'm going to use the marzipan instead to match with some stash yarn I had for Nordic Beach, which is going to be the Colette, I don't remember if she's calling it sweater or pullover, but Sorry Nordland's Colette design that's coming out, I think, pretty soon. I think she said towards the beginning of October. So I will be very excited when that design comes out. So we've got lots and lots of pullover plans. And then I'm also going to be searching for yarn for the Ozetta test knit that I got accepted into, which calls for a DK weight in Wool Dreamers. I forget which Wool Dreamers yarn. It's one of the Wool Dreamers DK yarns, and I love, love, love Wool Dreamers. But I think I want to gauge swatch before I buy a whole sweaters quantity, because last time I had a design that was a DK asking for 18 stitches per 4 inches. I did not get gauge with the DK, so we're gonna have to play with that. I almost wonder if their Manchalope, the like unspun, would be better because it's kind of airy. I don't know. We'll see. So that's another acquisition we're going to get in the future.
Yep.
So I've got all sorts of pullovers for the future.
Yes.
So
I think that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot.
Yeah. Sorry we covered everything pretty quick, but we didn't want to make this like too crazy long. So hopefully, you know, about where it's at, like 45 minutes-ish is a good time for everyone. But definitely let us know what you're working on too, because we love reading those comments and hearing what people are working on. And it's kind of fun too, because a few times people have been working on like the same projects or like projects that we hope to make in the near future. So definitely let us know your thoughts on those sorts of things.
Yeah. And we're kind of bad about reminding people, but if you enjoyed it, we appreciate the like or subscribe. We still have not figured out a schedule of like, do we want to do every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or we've kind of just been going with whenever is convenient for our schedule. So subscribing will let you know when we are posting, because we don't know when we are.
It's sporadic.
Yes. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, we appreciate it.